going on, guys? It's Liam here at All-In BJJ, Damien Anderson School. About to go in, get some hard rolls, and interview the man.
How was the, like, where were you unstable? It was like a weird thing. I don't know how long to take a break. You said that?
Yeah. Or, no, when I would step with a foot pointing at his sides.
Oh, okay, so yeah, it's like the
Yeah. Yeah, it would, if I step wrong, and then my weight might like shift towards it, he was just going. It would like push in and out.
You feel like snap back in place real quick?
What's going on, guys? It's Liam. We're here with Damien Anderson of All-In BJJ after an amazing performance at Emerald City Invitational 2 event in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Damien, thanks for sitting down with me to answer a few questions.
Of course.
Again, congrats on a fantastic performance. I have to say your matches were some of the most exciting of that night. Let's get into some questions. Number one, you've been on a competitive tear since your Tackett match, and we're seeing a different Damien Anderson. What have you changed in your game since going against Tackett?
So, although I lost the Tackett match, so for those who don't know, I had a no time limit match with a tough guy named Andrew Tackett. It was supposed to be a no time limit match, and then we started going, 45, 50 minutes without a submission. So then Third Coast, the promotion, at the last second said that that it would go to golden score, so the next person would win, or next person to score would win. My game plan for that match, because it was a no time limit match, was that I would just keep attacking leg locks and I'll eventually catch him. I know that I'm confident enough in my submission defense that I knew that I wouldn't get submitted. Since it was a no time limit match, I was like, all right, well then there's no sense in me trying to come up and shoot and risk getting guillotined and stuff like that. I'll just keep attacking leg until I submit him, and then that happened and I lost there. I had such tunnel vision in the match, although I had some decent leg entanglements. I didn't use my full game. Ever since that match, I said, enough is enough. I'm not going to be afraid of anybody. I'm going to go out there and attack with my entire game. So ever since that match, although I lost, was a huge turning point in my career. I said I'm never just going to have tunnel vision again, because I hate it. I hate losing. So then ever since then, I started coming up on singles, on doubles, trying to wrestle, taking the back, attacking arm bars, attacking senkakus, going back into the legs, and just seeing a complete game, just because I never want to have a match like that again.
That's understandable. Definitely seeing a more out there Damien Anderson on the mat.
For sure.
When competing at a high level against competitors like Gianni, Souza, and Tackett, how important is a solid mindset, and do you put time into keeping a positive and competitive mindset before you compete, and how do you handle adversity?
So that's a good question. I genuinely think, so the mindset when going against high-level competitors, my first thing is that I have to have confidence in my actual technique, in the jiu-jitsu that I do every single day. So I feel confident in my escapes because I practice my escapes in training. I let myself get into bad positions with the best guys in the world, in my opinion. Gordon Ryan, Gary Tone, and Nicky Ryan, those guys are, in my opinion, are the best in the world. So when I'm playing around with my submission escapes, I know that they have my best interest at heart, and I fully trust that they won't hurt me in training, and that I get to practice my escapes in its entirety. Now, practicing my mindset, I definitely believe that I always have a positive mindset overall. I think that mindset is very, very important when it comes to competition, because sometimes you go against these guys that have way more accolades than you, and you give them more respect than, in my opinion, they deserve, per se. You have to have confidence in your work ethic and the work that you've done in training, and that's what's going to get you the win against those high-level competitors. I definitely don't practice. I think you asked if I practice my mindset. I don't practice it. Maybe when I was younger, I definitely did. It was mainly not. It's not a practicing mindset where I say to myself every day that I'm the best, or I can be the best I can be. It's more so believing that it's achievable that's what I had to convince myself. I had to convince myself that nobody's special in this world, and if you work your ass off in anything, you can achieve anything. And I truly believe that, and I think that's the reflection in my performance. I don't think it's that I tell myself every day that I have to practice my positive mindset. It's the fact that I believe that it's achievable, and then I do the work, and then I perform.
That's actually a great answer. Just kind of extending off of that, let's say you do have like a negative like thought come through your mind or like a doubt. How do you reframe it? What's your strategy on getting that out of your head?
Yeah, I do have a little strategy that I kind of came up with. So what I realize is that I get nervous or I have doubts of the unknown. I think a lot of people have the fear of the unknown. You know, they don't know what's going to happen when they're in this bad position. So then what I do when I feel that doubt, I just rehearse the moves that I should learn or that I'm supposed to be doing. So if somebody has my back and I'm getting nervous, I feel my heart race because that thought came in my head, what if I get my back taken? Then I'm like, all right, well, I keep my primary hand in place, my secondary hand in place. I get my back to the mat. I get a 2-on-1. I bring the hand over. I get inside position with my elbow, inside position with my knee. I attack ashigarami, and that's how I start getting myself out of the mindset. And I'm like, oh, I actually know this. Yeah, that's the drill that I do.
So it's like mini reassurances that you know for a fact that you can get out of it.
Yeah, there's no unknown for me in this game right now.
Yeah.
Anytime I don't know something, I always try to ask, and then when I rehearse it, I confirm to myself, it's like I actually do know a lot about this sport, and I'm gonna be okay if I get in a bad position.
That was another fantastic answer. So moving on to number 3, since the recent split of the team, the DDS. How has training been for you since the split, and can you touch on what your plans are moving forward?
Yeah, so I mean, it sucks that the team splits, but this is life. Nothing's forever. It's alright. I'm still close friends with both parties. Obviously, I stayed with John, Gordon, Gary, Taza. It sucks because my friends are gone. I don't really train with them anymore. But we still keep in touch, still friendly and stuff like that. They've helped me a lot over the years. In a sense, there's a silver lining. Now, instead of Nikki, Ethan, Craig, Nicky Rod being the top dogs in the room, I'm one of the top dogs in the room, and I get a lot more attention, I feel. So there is a silver lining at the end of the day. I get more attention, from the top guys in the room now. I'm able to progress a little bit faster. So, nothing's just purely bad. There's some bad and there's some good.
Yeah, it's definitely a shame what happened, but like you said, such is life.
Exactly.
You've been training MMA with Gary Tonin and John Danaher for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When do you plan on making the jump to compete in MMA?
So I've been trying to find an MMA fight. The past few months, I'm definitely ready to take my first fight. I'm trying to fight amateur. It's getting kind of difficult for me to fight amateur, and before I was trying to fight, I wasn't even ranked, and now I'm ranked number 7. I just beat the number 4 guy at 145, Gabe Souza, so I'll probably be ranked number 4. So it's gonna kind of get hard for me to find these amateur fights. I'm probably gonna have to go pro right away. I have some jiu-jitsu matches lined up that I can't really talk about just yet, but once I get those out of the way, then I'll start focusing on trying to compete. In the meantime, I'm gonna be training MMA though, and everything's about development.
What's your goal for end game in MMA? Are you looking to go to UFC, ONE FC?
Definitely. Right now, obviously, this is still very new. I haven't even fought yet, but my overall goal is to get 135 pound UFC gold. That's the end goal. Everything in the meantime is just along the journey. My successes in jiu-jitsu kind of pale in comparison to the big goal. It's like I'm shooting for the stars and then sometimes land on the moon. So I'm getting great strides in my jiu-jitsu, but don't get me wrong, my goal is MMA. So that's definitely what I'm reaching towards.
That's great. Number 5, what grapplers/MMA athletes outside of your team have influenced your style the most?
Okay, when it comes to MMA, I watched a lot of Dominic Cruz. His movement, his footwork, I think is some of the best. If there's a criticism, obviously he's one of the greatest, but if there's a criticism, I feel like he moves so much that he doesn't hit with power. So I took the good, which is his footwork, and then I started mixing it in with some boxers like Mike Tyson, who has a lot of power with a lot of head movement, and I try to blend it and make it somewhat of my own personality in MMA.
That's cool. Trying to make your own style.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you about your academy, All In.
Mm-hmm.
You started your academy with Andrew Vidal and Jackie Deverell before you moved to PR. How has it been personally for you with running the academy from PR so far away from home?
Yeah, it actually worked out perfectly. So I actually started the gym by myself back in 2020. Then COVID hit us. Made it through COVID. Opened underground for a little bit, and then we finally came back. Then I taught for a couple more months, and then we decided that we were going to Puerto Rico. I knew that I didn't want to shut down the gym, so then I found Andrew Vidal, who I knew eventually he wanted to open up a gym. Now the thing is, when looking for a business partner, especially with me gone, I didn't want somebody to join the gym, or I didn't want to bring somebody on board that was looking to make money from the gym right away. I believe that businesses need an incubation period where they need to grow, and then we can't be sucking money out to pay for bills. I didn't want them to be relying on the money, so I knew that I could trust Andrew. Now when I moved to Puerto Rico, it's pretty much the same thing that I did with Gary's gym, so a lot of people might not know. I was working part-time while training full-time, and I couldn't train on the weekends actually because I had to work. I was a caddy, and for a little bit I was also a server. I knew that I wasn't I was skipping like 2 days a week to work because I had to make money to go to the city. So then Gary needed a manager, and he brought me on board. So then I got to learn the ins and outs. So I did all the back end work for Gary, handling payroll, dealing with insurance, dealing with the billing software, dealing with emails, answering the phones and stuff like that. So I already had the skill set to do it. And it just worked out perfectly that when we moved to Puerto Rico, I would just duplicate the same process that I was doing at Gary's, and I actually still do the same thing at Gary's, and I do it for my gym as well. So it worked out beautifully.
Kind of like adding on to that, do you find yourself implementing that same structure into more academies?
Yeah, that's definitely my overall goal. So obviously I have my competitive goals, but I don't believe I'm like a one-trick pony per se. I don't believe jiu-jitsu is the end-all be-all for me. I think I have a goal, and once I reach that goal, I'm going to switch the goal to something else. One of my overall goals was to be a serial entrepreneur. I always wanted to be my own boss. So I definitely believe that while I'm achieving my competitive goals, that I'm going to be opening up multiple gyms. I plan on opening up a chain of all-in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsus around the state and around the country.
That's awesome. Definitely excited to start seeing all-ins pop up around everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Do you think it's important for an academy to have a competitive team in order to be successful, or can it just be kind of full of hobbyists?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't believe a competition team is necessary at all. I have a few friends that actually run gyms that essentially ban competition. They don't accept competitors at all. They understand that if you want to compete, you go somewhere else. But some people work a 9 to 5. They just want to learn jiu-jitsu and have fun. Over 90% of our students are going to be just hobbyists that want to learn more. They don't want they're 45, 50 years old. They don't want to go against a young 20-year-old with a chip on his sholler. That can really drive some students away. Only around less than 10% actually want to compete, and then even less, maybe 3 to 5% are actually going to try to pursue it full time. So you definitely don't need a competition team to grow your school at all.
Gotcha. Since you're pursuing a future in MMA, will you eventually add MMA classes to your academy or keep it strictly jiu-jitsu?
So it's not really up to me. Although I'm training MMA, I wouldn't just start an MMA program if I'm not teaching it. If there's somebody that I feel is competent enough and we have room in the schedule to add an MMA class, I'm not opposed to it. However, I'm confident that my instructors can teach jiu-jitsu. Right now, I'm just interested in having jiu-jitsu academies. If there's a coach that I trust that won't hinder the growth of my gym, then I'm always open to new ideas. I'm not fully putting it down, but right now we're just a jiu-jitsu gym.
That's great. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. As a high-level competitor and academy owner, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
5 years. So I'm 24. I'll be 29. 5 years. I'll be fighting in the UFC for sure. Most likely be top 10 ranked in UFC. potentially, getting a shot at the belt. Obviously, I shoot for the moon. I have big aspirations, so maybe I'm overshooting it. Maybe I'm undershooting it rather. Maybe it takes 10 years for me to get there. But I feel like that's totally feasible. It gives me a couple of years to get my professional career out of the UFC. I get my development in. Once I'm in the UFC, I definitely plan on making a full title run straight to the UFC with dominant performances.
That's great. Outside of training, what are some other things that you enjoy doing?
I definitely love playing piano. Everybody that follows me on Instagram sees that I play piano from time to time. I don't have a real piano in Puerto Rico right now. I used to have an upright piano at my house. I would play 30-45 minutes every single day. Now I play a keyboard, so I don't play as much because it doesn't feel as good. But I'm a musician. I play piano, guitar, a little bit of drums. Pretty much other than that, everything's just jiu-jitsu. I have my gym. I like to learn a lot. I'll go on like week-long little mental adventures almost. Like I dive deep into little topics. It's like almost like a prolonged ADHD thing. So for a week I'll be obsessed about chess, and then the next week I'm obsessed about real estate, and the next week I'm obsessed about something else while I'm learning jiu-jitsu. I always kind of get in these weird like week-long education cycles for me.
That's awesome. Do you think it's important to have those little like ADHD moments to kind of give your brain a rest from all the jiu-jitsu studying?
I definitely think so. I definitely think when you give your mind a break and you come back at a problem, your subconscious mind is kind of working on the problem, and then you come back actually a little bit stronger. I definitely think that helps. Now, I could be wrong, but in my opinion, that's kind of how I learn the best. If I just do purely one thing over and over and over again, I kind of work my brain into overload a little bit. My brain needs a rest. That's why I'll do a lot of jiu-jitsu, then a little bit out of the day I'll play some piano, and when I come back the next day for jiu-jitsu, I feel a little bit better versus just flat going out hard in jiu-jitsu. For me, I learn a little bit better doing giving myself a break.
Need a little mental rest after the strenuous work with
Exactly.
John.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about we get some insight into your philosophy for being successful in jiu-jitsu, or really just anything in life? How do you get good as quickly as possible?
So I have to attribute this to John. John, I feel like I've gotten smarter since doing jiu-jitsu. John really gave us a formula for attacking problems, and then all I do is I just equate life to different types of problems. The act of solving problems under pressure is what jiu-jitsu is, and then at the end of the day, that's what life is. So when you have a problem in your life, people that haven't practiced that skill of active problem solving under pressure, they freak out. They feel like the world is ending. They get huge anxiety, anxiety attacks and stuff like that. However, if you just understand that everything is just a problem, it's not good or bad, you just see it as like almost a game, then you just calm down, you figure out, well, how can I solve this problem? What do I have to do to get this problem? That's how I tackle problems. Then how to learn and how to get better is just by understanding the why, understanding why some problems happen, or why a move works, or why the solution works and stuff like that. And that's how you'll continue to add on to your array of knowledge.
Thank you for giving us that insight. I'm sure that'll help quite a few of you out. What advice do you have for young competitive grapplers on the come up who want to make a career in BJJ?
So, advice for young competitors that want to make a come up into BJJ. It's a good question. My biggest advice is to truly dedicate yourself to the sport. If you really want to be great, it's going to be difficult to be great if you half-ass anything. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do other things, but you have to give your all when you're doing that one thing. There are people that dedicate their entire life to jiu-jitsu, so it's going to be very difficult to compete with those guys if you aren't putting in the same amount of work as them. It's going to be very difficult. So if you want to try to be the best in the world, you have to be willing to go all in BJJ.
Oh yeah, little sponsor right there, little shout out. Going back to what you were saying with some people have been dedicating their whole lives to jiu-jitsu, do you think John helped with accelerating the process of getting good?
Definitely, because although some people dedicated their entire life to jiu-jitsu, they didn't attack it like John attacks it. So when you start jiu-jitsu at age 5, you're not going to know physics, but intuitively you'll feel when moves work and why they move, or where your body should move, but you don't really understand the reasoning why. John always taught us why something works, so then later on you can problem solve independently, or you can teach that to your students. When somebody starts at age 5, they'll get very good by the time they're 21 or 25 because they have 20 years of intuitive movement. But when you're like me and I started at age 18, almost 19, I needed an accelerated pace to learn, so I needed to know why moves work. So John taught us why the move worked, and then I was able to then learn on my own as well.
Awesome. Yeah, because we see that a lot with, let's say, like the Rotolo twins. They've been training since they were so young, and they have very good intuitive movements. Whereas with Gordon, relatively, he had like a shorter time frame to get extremely good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just cool to see how John can accelerate that process.
Absolutely.
And really, if you just work hard and put your mind to it, you can see the greatness you can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sitting down with me today and giving some good advice to the people.
No problem, brother.
Yeah,
Of course,
thank
man.
you. Yep. Catch you guys in the next one.
See you later.